Good morning.
Good morning. Who's this?
This is Nick Kerminsky.
Hey, Nick. Good morning.
I'd know that voice anywhere.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
Just a lot of baseball, Nick, a lot of baseball.
Yeah, but usually I'm screaming.
Me too.
Morning, everybody.
Morning, Jeff.
Good morning, Jeff.
Hey, what's going on, buddy?
Just trying to survive another day. We got hit pretty good by the storms last night. Our neighborhood's pretty messed up.
Oh,
Is
boy.
it?
Yeah, we got a
You got power on
couple.
yet?
Yeah, we got power back last night sometime, but we got, I think, 3 houses out there that have trees on them, and we got one smashed garage and pontoons upside down in the water. It's a mess.
Yeah. Oh, sorry to hear that.
Gary and Barb Burkhardt out by us on Long Lake, their whole lift and pontoon are upside down.
The
Yeah,
lift-
that's
wow.
Yeah.
Dave Wright. Dave Wright's is the exact same way. It picked the whole lift up, flipped it all completely upside down, and all you can see out of the water are the legs of the lift.
You got to be kidding me.
No.
No,
Wow.
no, and they just put a brand new motor on it last weekend.
Oh, no. Oh, gosh.
Well, I know that Marshall's got worse. Marshall's going to, I mean, they had I think they said 20 to 30 poles that were broken. And so they've got a major problem up there in Marshall. Our entire crews are up there today.
Well, I'm going to give kudos to consumers because all of the poles, all of the transformers, everything in our neighborhood were on the ground. And I woke up, I don't know, about 3 o'clock this morning, and we had power.
Huh.
Now,
Interesting.
it might help that we have 2 consumers guys that live in the neighborhood. I'm not saying that helped, but
I'm saying it didn't hurt you, put it that way.
exactly.
Okay, do we got a quorum? 1, 2, Brittany, hello, 3. I'm assuming that's Branch County is Bud, 4.
That's correct. Hey, Jeff.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. So I think we got a quorum.
I'm sure Brandon is pretty busy at the moment, so.
Yeah,
He was tentative anyway, so.
okay. Well,
they were
let's
hit hard.
get started. Are you going to share the screen, or how are we going to pull up the agenda?
Pat said that he could pull that up for us.
Pat Pooley's man, always on the ball.
Always.
I just don't know what pages you're going to want to be on, so you're going to have to direct me where you want to go.
Just can start at the top of the agenda.
Yep, right there is fine. So if, does anybody have any questions on the minutes or financial? Well, we'll call the meeting to order, first of all. Nikki, will you please note the roll? And the consent agenda has been posted. Does anybody have any questions about the meetings or the financial statements as of May 31st, 2020?
No, I would move for their approval.
Motion by Baker for approval. Do I have a second?
This is Bud Norman. I'll second.
Thank you, Bud. All in favor signify by saying aye, and I think we got to do a roll call vote.
Right. President Bud,
Yes.
Brandon's not here. Member Baker
Yes.
and Member Norman.
Yes.
So we don't have a quorum quite yet, do we?
Yeah.
Is Brittany there?
Oh, Brittany, I'm sorry, you're black, so I forget. And Member Butler. Are you there, Brittany?
Let me, make sure that,
I got it. Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
Okay.
I felt the computer.
Oh, okay, no, all the ayes have it, so motion carries. The consent agenda is over. So does anybody have any old business to start? Hearing none, we'll move right into new business. As we have discussed before, we've been looking for another board member for a long period of time. It seems like sometimes we have trouble with attendance. So Nick Kraminski, Nick, you want to, I think, I think you know everybody, don't you, Nick?
I believe so. I can just give a quick background if you'd like, Jeff.
Yeah, why don't you? Because it is being recorded.
Okay. So I believe everybody knows me. I'm Nick Kraminski. I am a lifelong resident of Coldwater and Branch County. I work for Michigan Gas Utilities as the area manager. I was in economic development and external affairs for a short period of time. I've been with the company for 20 years and like I said, live here in Coldwater with my wife and our children and grandchildren. And I'm excited to be part of the great things that are happening in our community.
Thank you, Nick. Nick obviously brings a wide range of experience. Plus, he really helps us on the gas side of the equation, which we've, if you look back in the history of the Growth Alliance, the gas company was a big player in the Growth Alliance back in the, late 90s, early 2000s. And then it kind of, as we disbanded and went to more of a member funded as opposed to a private entities being funded, everybody kind of dropped off. So we're real excited to have Nick rejoin our group and Michigan Gas having a seat at the table. So with that, can I have an appointment of Nick to the board?
So moved, Baker.
Do I have a second?
Second, Butler.
Thank you, Brittany. All in favor, roll call vote?
Member Baker,
Yes.
Member Norman,
Yes.
Member Butler,
Yes.
and President Bud.
Yes. Motion carries. So Nick, welcome aboard. Looking forward to having you join the group. So we don't meet that often, but having the gas along with the electric and everything else makes a big difference. So thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you guys for the opportunity.
So we're going to get right into our economic development update. So Lisa, take it away.
All right, let's see. Pat. There we go. All right, I better get closer. This is an update that we put together both for the Growth Alliance and also for the City Council, just to let everybody know what we had been doing, particularly since COVID-19. We really have been very busy throughout this entire 3-month time period working with companies, and we just wanted to update you on some of the things that we've been doing. So as far as business and community outreach, we have really just been constantly talking with not only our downtown businesses, but our businesses throughout the county on the manufacturing side, trying to find out if they're up and running, trying to find out if, how they were doing, whether or not they were essential, letting them know what they had to do to prove that they were essential. And just a second, I think I just got a lawnmower guy coming. Hang on. I lost my presentation, Pat.
I'm working to make it look a little better for you
Oh, okay.
since you were taking a break. Is that better?
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Next page, please. So one of the things that we did straight out was try and work with our marketing department to update our website very quickly. It was really a lot of people, a lot of information needing to get to a lot of people. We had several Zoom meetings through the chamber, also with specific members of the state and actually even our federal government representatives. We held radio interviews to let people know about the types of help that was coming out through the CARES Act and the executive orders. And then there were grants for retooling. We had several companies, and BioLite being one of those, that was able to shift over and start making face shields. So a lot of moving parts, updating regularly through our serve list on anything new that was coming out to our companies, social media posts. So just every day, it seemed like for about 2 months, there were new things that were coming out. We did contact at least 20 businesses that represented over 3,000 employees. We did a lot of troubleshooting, took a lot of calls from people, and were able to at least try and get them some information. Again, we talked about unemployment, a lot of self-employed people. The PPP program worked a lot with our local banks. That was always changing. Was able to get some information out for self-employed people. That was very helpful to be able to get some funding. We had different travel restrictions, different quarantine restrictions for different companies that we had to share. And we did a lot of press releases regarding the food industry as they were getting slammed throughout the nation, and working with Clemens as they really got ahead of the curve for cold water because they knew what they had dealt with in their plant in Pennsylvania. So they were, as always, a great partner. Next slide, please. So the Small Business and Relief Grant that first came out through the MEDC, came out on Monday, had to have it done by Thursday, that type of thing. Very quick turnaround for the region. Branch County got a $40,000 allocation out of a, I believe it was $800,000 pool that went into the region. So we were able to assist applicants to understand the application component and be able to get the information that they had to quickly into the application, because if they couldn't get it in, they weren't eligible. We helped to identify missing information regarding their submission, and we shared information with all those applicants as we did with other companies on what was coming up and what might be available. So for Branch County, of that $40,000, we had one business in Union City receive allocation, one business in Bronson, 2 businesses in Quincy, and 3 in Coldwater. And what we did is we really wanted it to be countywide. We didn't want it just to be one community specific. So we were able to give out that $40,000, which was really helpful. This particular grant was focused on really restaurants and bars in downtowns. So that worked out for those applicants. We have submitted an RFI on the manufacturing side. We've actually submitted 2 and looking at a 3rd. So those are still coming in, believe it or not. So it hasn't really slowed down from that perspective as some of us thought might, regarding what might happen with the economy. And we do have a couple of businesses that are poising themselves for expansion. And so we're working with them on helping them through that process. And we do continue to work, monitor 2 significant downtown recruitment projects that continue to look like they may still come to fruition. So we're excited about that. Again, we talked with over 20 companies, business consultations, and tried to increase the awareness of programs as they change and new offerings. Next slide, please. Seemed in the very beginning, like I said, the first 2 months, there's just constant conference calls, webinars, stakeholder meetings. Debbie Stabenow's office in the very beginning was just amazing. We had a a company that was trying to move a large piece of equipment from Massachusetts to Coldwater. And they were having trouble crossing state lines. It was right as COVID was hitting. And I was able to reach out to Debbie Stabenow's office, and her people were just amazing. Got on the phone with our company. This was like on a Thursday, and they had everything set by a Sunday, and the equipment arrived in Coldwater by Tuesday. So it was a lot of coordinated effort. Same thing with Representative Wahlberg's office. We've had several webinars with him, trying to figure out, what was working, what wasn't working, so that he could take it back and make some changes. And I know that new change to the PPP for independent contractors, where you could use your profit for the year versus your number of employees, was really beneficial for people that had to lay off, particularly like, coffee shop or hairdressers, that type of thing. So this entire list are people that we worked with. We don't think we've missed anything. Worked really closely with the hospital throughout, talking with them, meetings with them regarding preparation. And I can say from my perspective, they did an outstanding job working, with University of Michigan and the hospitals on the east side, obviously, and along with ProMedica, all their systems. It was really ahead of the curve on that, and I was pleased with what I saw there. Worked a lot with the Chamber of Commerce, with our chamber here, also the Michigan Chamber of Commerce, and former Lieutenant Governor Calley. He was very helpful, particularly in the beginning, letting us kind of decipher all that information that was being thrown to us. Along with that, we still had our meetings with Southwest Michigan First, who again are an amazing partner. Not only did we have our partner meetings, but they would also bring in Ron Kitchens and have other meetings that were relevant to what was going on. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to go through all of these, but I just wanted to show the different programs. We were trying to get them to where they were easy for people to read and to find. So there were federal programs, the Paycheck Protection Program was the biggest one that was out there. The SBA Economic Injury Disaster Loans. Again, shout out to our local banks, particularly Southern and Century, and how helpful they were, not only to our office in helping to understand what was going on and what they needed and how it was going to work, but also then being able to spread that information out to the community. So they just did a fantastic job with us, helping through that SBA and getting people to them. That was the big push, was how do you get people to your local banks. Next slide, please. Again, those are just some different programs that we tried to get out there so that people could understand. Also going with their CPA, making sure that they were working with them to get any type of help that was available. Next slide, please. One thing we really worked with, also our partners with the USDA Rural Development, Jody Gruner and her group. They were great in trying to assist us on what might be coming. Brenda Stewart with the MEDC, same thing. They were all just really on top of their game. Main Street Lending Program, we tried to get that out so that people could see the potential if we were a Main Street community. Next slide, please. And then these are state programs that were out. Again, we got the $40,000 from the state. And these were just different ones that were available. A lot of people that were doing through the tech retooling. Literally, I think they put the money out and it was gone the next day from an application standpoint. So quick turnaround. Next slide, please. Same thing, and I believe that we had, Audrey did a great job getting the MLCC Spirits buyback out to our local bars and restaurants. And I actually think we were able to help a couple of organizations, let them know about this Michigan Humanities Organization and Pandemic Emergency. that we came across as we were digesting all the information. We're able to get it back to a couple of our local organizations that could benefit from that.
I know of at least one organization that did receive it as well. Pretty sure we have at least one for each of these programs listed on the slide.
Great. Thank you. Next slide, please. So these are some local programs that we were pushing. They were industry specific up on the top. We do still have our revolving loan fund that is out, that gets distributed by Bernard Robinson and his group. They did not have anything available for retention. And I know that they were disappointed with that. We were certainly disappointed with that. So it's basically standard revolving loan fund application can be done, $35,000 per full-time equivalent that you might be hiring. And then they have specific rules and regs that you have to follow for that. So really we were not able to use any of that job to help anybody that was during COVID through our regular revolving loan fund. We do have the potential of a $265,000 for the city of Coldwater that is unfunded, defederalized funding, so that we could do potentially for some microloans. And then we still had the low interest loan pool program specifically for businesses in downtown Coldwater. Next slide, please. So we went through, we had talked to the city council, had asked us from their perspective, what other types of things were communities doing. So we were looking, we basically found out we had to focus on what was happening in Michigan, given our specific rules and our charter. So if we saw a cool program in Oregon, we couldn't necessarily copy that and do it locally or do it for the state of Michigan. So we did find out that Kalamazoo was doing a low interest loan pool through some of their funding, through grants and foundations. Up in Marshall, the Marshall Area Economic Development Authority gave out $1,000 grants to 70 businesses. So they used $70,000 of their funding that went out to their local businesses just as a cash, here you go, to help pay for rent and utilities and that type of need during COVID. Battle Creek Unlimited, we're doing loans between $10,000 and $50,000 for businesses of 25 employees or fewer, and they were doing quick turnarounds on getting that money out. Next slide, please. So one of the things that we were looking for are ways to help with reentry, whether that was direct cash assistance, technical programs to help pay for websites that got upgraded so that they could have a stronger web presence, as obviously the web has been very critical as we've gone through with meetings and different things. We were looking at also ways for PPE, personal protective equipment, whether that's installing doors that you don't have to touch with your hands, or soap dispensers, changing doors, having a payment method for your web-based services. And then we looked at different possible funding sources for that, being the Downtown Development Authority, Branch County Economic Growth Alliance. We worked with our Branch County Community Foundation to see if there was any funding there, revolving loan fund and revolving development fund. Looked at those as possible options for funding. And I put together this memo that's in the packet, specifically to the board of all the conversations that we had. We came up with coming back to possibly having the Growth Alliance allocate $50,000 of our funding to do a program on PPE rebate, which is similar, which actually exactly in the form, other than the funding source, of what we put together for the Downtown Development Authority. In this memo if we were to allocate, if you were to vote to allocate $50,000 towards the rebate program for PPE, the allocation of dollar amounts based on the dues for the Growth Alliance are below. And I think one more page, please. And on this slide is the proposal on how the PPE works from a reimbursement standpoint. So I can tell you that from the Downtown Development Authority's perspective, it's run pretty smoothly. Audrey can jump in and kind of talk about how we're doing that. And that's how we're envisioning doing it with the Growth Alliance. We could do it individually in each community with the amount allocated where they could just do it directly themselves, or we could funnel it all through the Growth Alliance like we're doing with the DDA. But an example would be, we're rebating up to 75%, up to, I think it's $500 for the Downtown Development Authority. But for instance, we'll get an application for somebody that went in and bought hand sanitizer equipment, you know, where you come in and you can use it right at the door. They got masks for their employees. They got a system that helps to filter any type of particles out of the air. And they submit, you know, $700 worth of costs. And then the DDA will rebate up to 75% of that, up to $500. Audrey, you want to jump in about any types of other things that they're using?
Sure. A lot of GW display fixtures are doing lots of business, and they've really been great. They put together like very specific product lists and marketing materials for like plexiglass barriers for the dispensers, stands, the foot door pulls, things of that nature, and then offered bulk pricing basically to any downtown business who purchased. So lots of barriers at checkouts, meeting panels, things like that have been a big item. And now we're starting to see more businesses taking advantage of the website side of things. So in addition to the PPE in those kind of like expendable resources that you have to keep replacing, we're now also seeing businesses apply to do online ordering. So JT's is getting that up and running. So is Jeannie's Diner. Integrity Apparel is doing that as well and revamping their website. So it's really been a broad range of anywhere from like, you know, Lisa said masks and hand sanitizer to things that are more of the tech spectrum, really just depending on what makes sense for the business.
And I think, again, this is just a draft proposal that's up on this website, but one of the things I would like us to have conversation with is I think that we would want to have a number of employee limit. So for instance, focusing more on small business than, you know, a manufacturer that has 1,000 employees. So whether that's 50 employees or less, or 25 employees or less, that would be conversation for the board to have on what they would feel comfortable with. So Jeff, I don't know if you want to talk about that and vote on that now, or if you want to bring that up later, but I believe that's my report.
Okay. Thank you, Lisa. Going back to the agenda itself, I just followed that. So what does everybody feel about the proposal Lisa put together? The nice thing that I do like about the proposal is the PP does give a preference to using local community businesses. So you can't just go buy your stuff from Japan. It does give a benefit to using it locally. You know, it's stuff that we all need. I think that, you know, there's lots of help out there, but there's just another option for that. Pat, can you pull up the actual proposal again? The last page of Lisa's program. I don't know if I can see that.
Not yet. I will say one change that we have made with the DDA's program is originally we were only going to accept receipts to make it simpler. We don't have to keep track of people's payments and things like that. But because they're now starting to see product shortages or back ordering, we are now accepting purchase orders and then having to keep track of when the business submits a receipt to issue a rebate, but having those funds earmarked in the meantime.
The only question I have is because, you know, this is basically a grant. I I'd be a little nervous that people are double and triple dipping.
Mhm.
So if they get something from somebody else, they'd be ineligible for this program. That's the one
I
thing.
think-
that
Yeah,
One-
that's easy. That's easy enough for us to keep track, Jeff, you know, when we look at downtown Coldwater specifically, because they're the only ones that are getting that right now. But we've also, even the state has had us do that. We have another funding source that we just got granted for that Audrey's going to talk about in a little bit. And same thing, it was like, well, if somebody got something out of the $40,000 grant from the state, they weren't eligible for this next grant. So we can have that as part of our documents and keep track of that.
Yeah, that's probably the one thing that I saw. With that, I'll open up the conversation to the group. Does anybody have any comments?
So the limit is now in contrast to the downtown one, the limit is 1,000. Is that what I'm looking at?
Up to $1,000, probably on the Coldwater budget. I would recommend up to 500 on the other communities' budgets, just to be able to help as many people as possible.
So on the one thing, again, this is not a full exhaustive list. How are we going to encourage? I mean, the rebate is if they get, so they're really getting 75 cents per $1,000. We are, if somebody buys everything from Japan, how is that going to be handled? Are they still getting the full 1,000, or is it a lesser amount for not using local businesses?
We've really looked at what some items they can't buy locally. So we've looked through more of an attempt to buy local, and then if they couldn't get something, they had to buy it through Amazon or somewhere else. So it wasn't like we didn't say we weren't going to give any money if you bought something that you couldn't get locally. We've just emphasized that in our advertising, both through email and then direct conversation.
Should it be a lower percentage?
Could be.
Yeah, I guess I want to emphasize, this money is raised in Branch County. I don't want it to leave Branch County. And if we allow that, even if there's something that can't be made, we're just letting it leave Branch County. That's one thought I had.
I think one of the things we have to be careful with is not everything is made in Branch County that's here. And so our list for PPE, but we can certainly determine that. We've got a lot of companies that are providing, products all over the state of Michigan also, that people are being able to get incentivized for. And we really, I don't know, we haven't, Audrey, on our applications through the downtown, most of them have been local, correct? We've had some that have been out.
It just depends what it is. For anything that relates to a barrier and things of that nature, that usually comes locally from GW Display. A lot of the air filtration has come from DWV Mechanical. So a lot of the larger items do tend to be local. When it comes to masks or hand sanitizer, it's really a wash because it just depends. Some have been, some haven't. I know Caramore Pharmacy is stocking some items, but really we haven't kept track of which is which. It's just basically if they've made an effort to purchase at least something locally, we've let them access it.
And it's worked pretty well. The other thing we've done is we've put together a list of all of our local suppliers, so that they know they don't have to go out and try and figure that out themselves. They know who they can go to.
And Michigan suppliers as well.
Yeah, so we did priority to Branch County, and then we did priority to region and state. So that's how we handle that.
So if you wanted to keep it simple and just say anything within the county is an X% rebate versus anything not is going to be a different percent, that would be a very clean way to do it, I think. Especially as we run into those local companies, then making sure that their supply chains are intact and that they can get what they need. It might hinder businesses' abilities to purchase locally. We'll see. I know at least one downtown business had contacted me saying that they couldn't find a certain product locally anymore and they're out of stock.
Mhm.
So we're doing that.
And we want to encourage them to be able to get these products from an reentry process because they're being forced through the executive orders that they have to provide these things. They have to have these PPE on site and for their employees. So we're trying to do everything we can to help them, not tie their hands.
So what if we looked at it, purchase everything locally that you can, but the things that you can't, the state of Michigan, I would bet 99.9% of everything else that couldn't be purchased locally could be purchased within the state of Michigan. And we don't even think about buying something from Japan or China or whatever.
Sure, we can put that right in the documents, branch county, region, state, made in the USA, and have it go from there.
Right. So to the individual who couldn't find something locally, I basically sent them the link to the Peer Michigan Business Connect, where if you create a profile now, you are required to create a profile, but once you do, they have a really in-depth Excel spreadsheets about different kinds of products and where to source them from within the state.
I just know from our company's perspective, we had to purchase a lot of PPE, and I mean, we were buying hand sanitizer from a distillery in Niles by the 55-gallon drums, but we kept it within the state. We could have purchased outside of the state, and we might have paid a little bit more, but we're helping the communities that we live and work in.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. And
Yeah.
hand sanitizer is expensive. I
Yes.
saw one of the first bills that came through. It was like $457 or something. I'm like, for a hand sanitizer? It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we were paying $2,500 for a 55-gallon drum.
Right.
Ouch.
I'm supportive of doing something. Obviously, these are nominal amounts, but I think if we can then, as an agency or organization, provide some additional level of assistance or benefit to not only our own local cold water companies, but the other primarily in the other 3 municipalities as well. That's I think that's appropriate. So it's kind of hard to read this one, and I know I don't recall when I read it through the first time. So did you set here, you mentioned either 50 or below employees or 25 below employees?
Yes, and I'm open to dialogue. We have a lot of small businesses. We have a lot of larger businesses. I don't know, Brittany, as far as Quincy's concerned, do you have a feel of if it's better to have it a 50 and below minimum or a 25 and below minimum for dollar usages?
For my community, I would almost go 25 and below. We don't have a lot of businesses over 25, except our factory.
For me, I was particularly given what we've seen for help for small businesses. I think the 25 and below is the way to go, particularly for the outlying communities, smaller communities in Branch County. I guess, Jeff and Keith, how do you feel about that number for Coldwater, or are you thinking larger?
I'm fine with that. Why don't we open up first? We can always expand it later.
To 25 and below?
No, I'd say I would almost go with, 50 and below would be fine with me, but there's not.
You want to do that for Coldwater and then do 25 and below for Brunson, Quincy, and Union City?
Sure, if that makes everybody else happy. I don't see that being as big of a deal.
What do you think about that, Brittany? Would you rather do 25 or 50?
you got to put me on the spotlight, Lisa.
'Cause I like you.
I mean, if we want to go 50, that's fine with me. We don't have a lot of businesses that have small businesses that have 50 employees, so it's not like it really would make a difference, I suppose. But we can do 50 across the board, and then if that makes things easier.
Yeah, I think if you do it 50 across the board, like Brittany said, how many small businesses do you have in Quincy and Brunson and Union City that are going to have more than that 50? Chances are they're going to have the 10 to 15 to 20
Right.
range. But if we put a restriction on it and they've got 22 or 26, then we've cut them out.
Right. Sounds good.
And-
Audrey, any thoughts on that, what you're seeing as far as what the state has been doing regarding grant funding or amount of funding?
State has been
Based on
using
size.
a 25 employee threshold. Locally, I don't really have a preference. I just think it should be the same for every community regardless, to make it simple.
And I'm good if it's 25, whatever for you guys feel. I don't make a big deal. I guess the only thing else I would probably, that I would like to see is instead of, right now it's a 75% rebate if you buy locally, but I think if you don't buy locally, that should be 50, if not lower. But if it's not in when I say in Michigan, or if you're out of Michigan, then I think it should drop. Nick, any thoughts? Bud, any thoughts?
No, I like that, Jeff. As long as it doesn't get to be a tracking nightmare for whoever's administering this. Obviously, we're a small community, and we want to keep as many things local as possible or within the state. So if it's not going to be a tracking nightmare, I would agree. If, instead of 75 cents on the dollar, you're getting, 45 or 50.
How about if Audrey and I work on this, and put together, firm it up and put it all together, and we'll send it out to the board so that you can see it before we start announcing it to the companies. And then if you have any issues, you can contact us. Does that work?
Well,
That's a great idea.
You would need we'd have to have another meeting then if you wanted our authorization to spend the funds.
So we can put it together based, yes, we do need to have approval today to do it. Based on the parameters you've given us, we would just make sure that you saw it before it went out and that we didn't somehow miss something.
Just the guidelines is what you're referring to, Lisa.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think we approve it with, let's do the 75 and 50 and the 25 if that's the number of employees you want to use. That makes it easier for everybody. It does exclude a few cold water companies, so 25 is a little small, but
I thought we'd actually kind of convinced ourselves to go with 50 because that would be.
I think 50 is good to start. We can do that, and then we can do the percentages based on in county versus in state. Right now, especially given those billboards that are in Indiana, I don't think I'm going to rebate anything that comes out of Indiana.
I think that's right.
And then we can put that together and get it sent out. I think 50 does, like Nick said, it helps. What if we've got somebody that's got like 27 or 28? The other thing that the state has been doing that I probably would recommend is eliminating any chains, like the bigger chain stores. McDonald's, for instance, keeping it to more of a small business.
Do you need a motion to that effect?
is that what you're, yes, I would like a motion. Is that what you're saying, Keith?
Yeah.
Okay. Do I have a second, anyone?
Nick will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So further discussion before we vote. One other thing, and I know for Brittany, I know the limits are like 1,500 or 1,700 for small. One of the thoughts that I had was, I understand COAR's put a lot of the money into this deal, but if all of a sudden there's excess money after so long, maybe then allow other communities to, after the first pass? Does anybody agree, or should we just keep the percentages as is?
I think it would be pretty simple to bring it back to the table and review it after a 6-month period or whatever that period might be. I think maybe Lisa could put that in the guidelines or the proposal that she's going to send around to everybody to review.
Yeah, and I think the other same thing is as we go through, let's say Quincy has used all of their money, they've had this great response from their businesses and they don't have anything left. And Coldwater's only used $5,000 of theirs. I think we can revisit on allocation of those funds to other Branch County businesses.
Yeah, and I don't think you would need to have I don't think you would have to have a meeting. Or Jeff, is this organization able to do electronic voting?
Well, we can for now anyway. Yeah, I think we could probably just do it by consensus, probably.
I mean, we're not,
Okay.
to your question, Nick, no, we're not. While we might represent local units of government, and we're not an elected body in that from that standpoint. So no, we operate kind of separately from, say, a city council or the Board of Public Utilities.
Yeah, we are
Okay.
we're organized as a 501c3.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So we have a little more flexibility. So I think we could do, I don't know what our bylaws state if they talk about electronic voting, but I think we could get away with that or something similar, simple like that. So.
Yep.
How would you like the motion to read?
So we're authorizing the $50,000 in the allocation presented with the 50 employees or less, with the stipulation on the use of or the expenditure of funds being 75% if it's county or state and 50% if it's outside the state.
That sound right, Lisa?
Yeah, except for Indiana.
Nothing to Indiana, yeah.
I'm sorry. You don't like those billboards.
And Nick, you're okay with the motion as you read it?
Yes.
Okay, so Nick seconded. Any other further discussion? Brittany or Bud?
Nope, I'm good.
Good to hear.
Okay, then we will call for a roll call vote. Nikki?
Member Norman,
Yes.
Member Butler,
Yes.
Member Baker,
Yes.
Member Krasinski,
Yes.
Member Bud.
Yes. Okay, so motion has carried. So the next thing on our agenda is, I think another thing from Lisa regarding the PPP. Well, we just handled the rebate program. Was there anything else on that?
Nope, that's it for me. I think Audrey's report is next, just on letting the board know what on our economic development efforts downtown through the DDA.
Okay,
Excellent.
Audrey, go ahead.
I'll be quick. Next slide, please, Pat. Just kick it off with some fun downtown things. The DDA purchased bike racks last year. They approved me for about $3,000 to purchase those. So we've got 10 of the black hoop racks on the left, and we have 2 of the blue bike-shaped racks. And those have already been put to use. I've seen people parking their bikes, so that's exciting. And then we've got new flowers, of course, for the season, which smell great. So happen to be downtown. Enjoy those. Next slide, please.
And the bike racks were purchased through,
GW Display.
yes. That's what
Yes. So they've been a really great partner this past year. Something that's on the way, Lisa found some great hand sanitizing stations, I believe in Holland or another community. And so we
Holland.
ordered 4 of those, I believe. Keith, is that correct?
Yep, right now.
Right. And then speaking to some of the production timelines that I mentioned earlier, these actually probably won't be available until the end of the year. So we're going to miss them for this first reopening season, but we will have them thereafter, probably for next year. You can go to the next slide. Thank you. Even in the midst of a pandemic, we've got 2 new businesses that are coming. Coldwater World Market, I don't believe has opened yet, but they will be an international food, home and kitchen supply store. The former Mr. Tunes or Coldwater Gun and Pawn. And then Craft Out Loud has officially opened. They kicked off their craft supplies via online sales. So they transitioned like right out of the gate to an online platform. And then I believe this week or late last week, they're finally allowed to have guests in the building. So I encourage you guys to stop out there. Shelly and the Van Dongen family do a really great job of making the store look great, and especially with the displays. So we're excited to have 2 new businesses during a time where we know that things are a little bit shaky. So go to the next, please. Mask fundraiser, I updated these numbers from the DDA presentation. So to the Coldwater community, we sold 225 masks is the final number. Those are supposed to be available either at the end of this week or sometime next week for pickup. And that raised just over $500 for the DDA. So it was kind of a small fundraiser for the DDA and also just a way to encourage people to purchase masks to kind of have a unified front and to normalize that when people are shopping at the farmer's market, shopping downtown, going to a sporting event eventually, or just, you know, grocery shopping, things of that nature. So excited to pick mine up. Yes?
Wasn't that amount of money was supposed to go towards helping with the PPE reimbursements also? Was that what we were using that money for?
Right, so that money will go into that specific program that the DDA has set aside for COVID-related business support. Yes, so it's the DDA's first fundraiser, which is something that Main Street likes to see you do, and so I guess we've gotten our feet wet there, which is fun. You can go to the next slide.
Oh, one other thing, and this was done in Integrity Apparel downtown business also.
Yes, correct. One DDA member shared something with us about a virtual shopping event that they saw in Chelsea, Michigan, and we are hosting one. We put together, our marketing department put together materials, and I organized the Facebook event and the businesses. That will be taking place tonight. So at 6 p.m. it starts off. In 20-minute time frames, we're going to have different businesses go live on their Facebook page and basically promote some type of deal, product, services, and possibly something Father's Day themed. So I know we're starting off with Broadway, and they're going to do gift certificate sales with guaranteed seating on Father's Day. So that's exciting. We've also got Pure Envy. Integrity Apparel has some special items, and then wrapping it up with Key Story. So it's kind of an experiment. We'll see how it goes, if people like it, and whether or not we want to do it in the future. So something else that was brought to our attention, this is something that each of our communities could consider. It's for, if you look at Battle Creek Eats as an example, they have a certain service provider that basically organizes on behalf of all of their restaurants an online ordering platform. So in this case, I know we've had downtown businesses who are paying for their own service, but if a community wanted to consider down the road kind of something centralized where people could go to see everything that's available in their community and do online orders, they could do it through a specific platform that charges like an annual fee and then a certain percentage of your credit card sales, basically.
And
to
we could
maintain
do
that
that instead of just having that community specific, Audrey, couldn't we consider doing it for all of Branch County restaurants?
Yes, yes, you could. Either way, absolutely. I need to learn a little bit more about that and to see how it scales up for costs for different size or how that works.
I'd like to look at that just because our partners throughout the county, there's a lot of different restaurants and they wouldn't be able to afford it themselves. So it might be a nice, especially given how small our county is, that we can get to other communities and get, you know, food from there.
Right, especially with all the lakes that we have. I think it does make sense to have something, yeah, that would be countywide. So to be determined. We'll report back on that next time, I suppose. And then I had sidewalk chalk contest on here, something we haven't done that we might do just for some fun visuals downtown to stir up some rivalry or some competition of sorts. We'll see. You go to the next slide. And this is just an update on the downtown rebate that you guys are going to model the BCEGAs off of. In the weeks since it's passed, we've had 11 approved applications with just over half of those funds earmarked. So almost a little bit over $5,200. So we've got about 4,800 left. We've used it for electronic payment methods, online ordering systems via upgraded websites, plexiglass barriers for checkout and for meetings, foot door pulls, a lot of hand sanitizer, gloves, masks, medical grade air filters, all kinds of things. And then just a really quick list of some of the businesses that we've seen supported are, G&W Display, CEM Supply, Caramore Pharmacy, DWB Mechanical, and I'm sure I have others that I could add to this list now. I'm not sure if I have a slide after this. I think I took out Match on Main.
You want to talk about that a little bit, though? No?
We will have something to report next week, but I was notified that we're not supposed to make anything public yet. So that's enough of a hint and a treat for you. Stay tuned.
Okay, thank you, Audrey. I know in our packet we had 2 more slides, so just want to point out the City of Coldwater did pass the medical marijuana, the recreational marijuana passages, so there'll be potential to have that downtown as well as in the area primarily around the highway C4 business district, which is around the highway. Also, if you haven't started seeing, there it is. So that's what the downtown will look like. That's where all the weed could be. So
No,
I believe it's the
they have
this one is the inaccurate one. So it would include the one, there you go. That's the one that would be for downtown.
So that's all the places you can have it downtown. So anyway, just to pass it on, no pun intended. Lastly, just want to let you guys know how really nice Monroe Street looks. I don't know whose idea that was. I'll give it to Keith because he's the boss. But it looks really nice down there. If you haven't seen the lights, that looks really nice down on Monroe Street. So, and I think that's going to be a pretty cool area, hopefully, in a
Thanks
short
to your
period of
staff
time.
for setting it up. I happened to be running some errands and they were out and about installing those lights, and it was very hot out. And they've been out there for hours in the hottest part of the day. So kudos to them.
Yeah. Okay. That brings us up to, I believe we're up to we're done with the agenda. Community updates. I got 11:30. So is there any public comment on the phone? Pat?
Jeff, I just wanted to put that up there because I do not have my camera. It got swiped by another meeting. So I didn't have anything running this whole time to allow people to call in. We don't have anybody on the phone currently, but we do have 8 people watching on YouTube. So I'd like to let this just run up there for a few minutes and give them an opportunity while you continue.
Well, yep. So we're going to go through community updates real quick. I'll start off. We're still working on our fiber project. Crews are going to be out and updating and launching. So that will be coming sometime soon. So looking forward to kicking that off, but you will see crews out in the area starting to run the main fiber trunks. We do have some construction on Butter Substation. We're adding an electrical substation, and work will soon be starting at the Big Boy, or what the former Big Boy restaurant, which is now Los Tequilas. We'll be doing some upgrades to a lift station there. So that's my update. Keith, you want to go next?
Yep, sure. So we're in the final stages of adoption of our annual budget, which will begin July 1st. We have a couple infrastructure projects coming up that are both utility and road related with Smith Street, sanitary and road reconstruction there, and North Monroe Street between US 12 and Grand. That's a water main and road reconstruction and those are anticipated to start towards the end of July. We're wrapping up a pretty large sidewalk repair project currently. Yeah, that's the update for me. Oh, and then I do want to note that, with the storms that we had yesterday, we have crews that are providing mutual aid assistance to Bronson. So I'm sure Brandon is busy this morning, and they worked last night and they're working yet today again, helping clean up Bronson.
And all of our linemen are in Marshall as well. So, and the electricians. Nick, anything for the group?
Not anything major. We are, with the COVID, we thought we would have slowed down a little bit, but we were considered a critical workforce, so we've been able to work right along. We have not started doing our customer-facing work yet, and that's probably 75% of our business. We're looking at getting back into the customer-facing work in the next 3 to 4 weeks, and continue with all of our contractors. We've got a lot of station work going on Grand Street. We're redoing some piping there, and we'll see some more over on Butters behind the Eagles. But we are extremely busy, and I'm not sure what we'll do when things really open up, how we'll keep up and keep everybody happy.
Thank you, sir. Brittany, all things in Quincy.
So we are getting ready. Well, Speedrac's getting ready to start their expansion finally. They just delivered plans last week, so we have a JPC meeting about it tonight for a couple of issues. Our first marijuana, recreational and medical provisioning center is hoping to open soon. They just did interviews yesterday for employees. Our Market 1858, which is going to the downtown area, one of our sheds has been built and completed. However, that's pretty much on hold until we can figure out funding for that project with everything going on. So we got one shed of these 7 completed. Church Street construction, that is going to start, they're hoping to start August 1st. So that'll be done. Our playground is finally done. The company that we hired for the new playground equipment started on Monday, and they were finished yesterday they started on Tuesday, and they finished just before the storms hit. So it took them a day and a half to set up our new playground equipment, which I was super impressed, because our old equipment that we reconfigured for the toddler area, it took the guys about 2 weeks, but they did an amazing job, both of them. And so our park is growing rather big. And then the only other thing that we really have going on is Main Street and Bennett Street chip seals are supposed to happen June 24th. So that'll be one of our construction project or detour routes this year. So that's about it.
Thank you, Brittany. Bud, you're up. Got anything?
Well, we went out yesterday to try to assess what was the county damage to the storms. And just as you discussed, major damage occurred over in Bronson, thanks cold water. So we had cold water in Sturgis that helped support from both sides, both the east and the west. So thanks, Keith and Jeff, for providing that support from cold water. We are continuing with the jail construction. We were slowed down some by the high waters levels, the rain that we had earlier on a few weeks back. That subsided. We were able to get that drained out. We also compounded that with a break that we had in one of the lines, the water lines, but we repaired that. And then we had a line break yesterday on the east side of Marshall Avenue. Jeff, you and I talked about that yesterday afternoon, but we got that repaired. That did do some concern damage to the roads, but the road commission responded very quickly and Looks like they're going to have that back. That was a concern to us because we're having a couple of events or 3 events over the weekend. And one event's going to be there in our campus, which consists of the Community Health Agency, the Family Independence Agency, and the jail. And that is COVID-19 testing, and that's taking place tomorrow. We see that that still will be able to take place because that road should be opened back up going from State Street up north on Marshall, as well as coming from the north down on Marshall Avenue or Old 27, so that we can do that. And then the health department is also doing COVID-19 testing, and that's going to be in the fairgrounds, and that'll be Saturday and Sunday. So that's all I have, Jeff.
Thank you, Bud. I think at this time we'll go last chance. If you have a public comment, to please let us know. Pat, do you have anybody else want to make a public comment?
There is no one on the line available for public comment right now, so you should be good.
Okay. I believe that is the end of our agenda. Date of next meeting, Nikki, you want to be determined, or how do you want to handle that? You're muted.
Up to you all. Do you want 3 months? Quarterly?
We always try to keep it quarterly. So let's keep on that road. So we will send out doodle calendars sometime September, and we'll see what the best date is for everybody.
That sounds good from our end.
Yep, that sounds good.
Nick, would like to thank you again for stepping up, and Michigan Gas for allowing you to be part of our group. We look forward to having you join us and help us with the economic development Branch County.
Yeah, thank you guys for the opportunity.
Okay, with that, I will call the meeting adjourned. Have a great day, everybody. See ya.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah.